Let's Talk World with Maria. And today, I also have Mr. Wood with me. And Mr. Wood, you are a purpose design coach, correct?
Yes.
Am I saying that correctly?
I help people discover their purpose and their design, and so they can unleash it in the world with success and passion.
Wow, you see, I put this together, you and Jessica, because you have the same mission. Did you see that? You heard all the interview, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah. So it's really amazing. That's why it's this is how I do it. I try to put everything goes together and all the guests. That way, we are just focusing on one thing. I know. Remember, focus is very important, right? Focus. Yeah. So what's been going on with you so far?
It's been very busy. I work with a lot of different people. I don't do advertising a lot because I've got pretty much what I do is with word of mouth. But I work with. I've been traveling a lot, working with companies.
I know you were at you're in Washington when I called you.
Yeah. I just got back from California, and I was in Idaho before that, and I head to the Bay Area in a week and a half, and so been working with some corporate clients. And
when can we have you more then? Oh my God! Did you just came from someplace before you came here?
Yeah, this past week.
Yeah. Oh my God! This guy is so busy. He does a lot of consulting to different industry here in United States, right? In the nation. There you go. I'm trying to get it straight out. But you know what? We have. I seen the video. I review it again and again because I want to make sure that I'm hearing it right. But most of the things that I heard from you on your previous interview with Love is Everywhere is something that Jessica and I were talking already. That's why I said I'm gonna be hypocrite on this one because I already saying the answer, but still I'm gonna ask Dog. So you were talking with Lucette and Love is Everywhere about assessment. You do. Let me tell you this. I love doing assessment. I love using evaluation. I do evaluation for myself, and every single thing that I do and every single thing that I say, I evaluate it because I probably saying, especially for my kids too. And I don't know, but kids these days, their attention span is really this, and a lot of kids these days, they are very selective in what they want to see on your text or on what you say. Do you agree with me on that? Yeah, they're very selective. They're like they only if most of the time communication is very hard because people doesn't really look on the whole on the whole message. They just look on the beginning and the end or in the middle, and then they pick up what they want to pick. They're selective. And talking about that, I remember every time I post something on Facebook, it's because I have a team of people. I don't want them to misinterpret what I say. Because anything that what I say on Facebook or what I say that's coming out from my mouth, it's all about trying to promote and support people. It's nothing to put anybody down. That's not in my genes at all. But I think the way I say it sometimes is it misinterpreted negative.
So a lot of what we do is one of the principles that we coach out of is that understanding, fulfillment and unity comes from diversity with understanding.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, so when we understand, when we learn how to understand people, and it opens the door for us to communicate a lot better. But before we can understand others, we need to understand ourselves. And so we're able to, and the hard part with that is, Jessica was talking earlier about how, who you are comes from within. It's who you've always been, but the hard part is, how do you know that? You've been told so many different things growing up. You've got parents telling you things, teachers telling you things, friends telling you things, Uh, your dreams are telling you things. The media, there's $700 billion spent on advertising every year worldwide, telling you that you're not good enough unless you have their product.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so when you try to figure out who am I, you have to unlayer all this to find out, unlayer all these other things to get to who you really are. And so what we do is we help people really unlayer and really get to the core of who they really are, because everybody is amazing, and if they can be who they are, there's nobody else like them, and they can do things in ways and offer things in the world that nobody else can. So it's really fulfilling and very successful.
It is, yeah, it is. You see, I tend to block a lot. Okay, this is going to my next question actually,
Yeah.
but I was listening to all the things that you were saying, and you said, what is the truth about an individual that is valid and reliable? You said that. Do you remember that? Can you explain more about that? Because I have some kind of things that I want to ask you about that.
Sure. So there's a lot of assessments out there. And so how do you, and there's some really popular ones like, Myers-Briggs and DISC and different.
That's what my
lots of
question,
different-
yeah.
Lots of different ones. And they're very positive. The reason that they're successful and popular is because they're deemed as valid and reliable, and they are. They use a.
Well, they said according to the study, they studied it, yeah.
Exactly. So they're like 83 to 85% valid and reliable. Valid means that when you take that assessment, it's 83 to 85% true right then. And reliable means it will be that way in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Because it's a process that measures the part of a person that doesn't change. So that's kind of what we measure. The problem with it is that there's 7 billion people in the world, soon to be 8 billion. And so what a lot of these assessments do is they measure one part of a person and then they put them into a box. And so they'll say you're one of you take these and you take the questions, and the questions say you're either this or this or this or this or this, and that puts you in one of like 16 profiles.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Well,
yeah.
the problem, is that 7 billion people don't fit in 16 profiles, and so what we're able to do is we don't put people in boxes. We actually triangulate to find out. We don't measure one part of a person, we measure many parts of a person, and then we don't put them in a box. We triangulate, and they get a unique picture of who they are that's very unique to just them.
Yes.
And that allows them to. And
How can you? Okay, so
and then it's actually more valid. It's actually 87% valid and reliable because of the process that we go through.
Oh, so you guys actually creating some kind of process or some kind of program to do it?
Yeah, we have a very proprietary process that we go through, and it's 50% of it is the assessment, and 50% of it's the discovery process. And so there's a lot of, it's not just the assessment, so we actually have a lot of cross checks, and we measure many parts of a person going through that. And then it's very liberating, because once they find out, they're free to be them, and they're a lot more successful than they've ever been.
Well, talking about that, this is when I graduated college, University of Hawaii in 2015, and I remember on my classes, I believe 3 classes that I have to take those assessment, and I take the Myers-Briggs, and I am an ENTJ.
Okay, yeah.
ENTJ are actually, I believe, 5% population, only 5% population, and that's included Trump, ENTJ. So I'm like, this cannot be. See, at that time, I don't have that self-confident at that time, so I don't believe it. So I did it again, probably about 10 times, and it came out the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, I am that person. And to tell you honestly, Doug, after I take that assessment several times, I built my confidence. That's the reason why I am who I am right now, is part of that assessment. I know who I am. And talking about you do all those assessments to other people and try to figure out who they are. I am the kind of person, I believe I am not 100%, maybe 98%, that I know who I am and I know how to evaluate my own self. I don't need, I felt like I don't need anybody to tell me, because I'm the kind of person that I don't listen to anybody to tell me who I am and what I have to do, and I have to, what to do to move forward. So I am on that kind of level, but in the back of my mind, that 2% of my mind, I know that I am not that smart. See what I'm saying? I still need help on different areas in my life. I know that I know certain things, but there's nobody who is perfect in this world.
Yeah, so like that Myers-Briggs is that will measure what they call temperament, and so that's just one piece. And so it's and you can draw a lot from temperament, but we don't measure just one piece, we measure 6 pieces.
Okay.
And so it gives you a more complete picture.
So what is that one piece with Myers-Briggs?
So Myers-Briggs it's a temperament analysis, kind of a personality. And so they measure kind of how you process and see the world and process through things. And again, it's very effective, it's very good, but it doesn't necessarily, we will measure things like what your interests are, what your abilities are, and what your values are.
That's true. Yeah, that's
so
now.
we'll
Now I just cannot remember. Yes, they actually more focus on the personality level.
Yeah, exactly. Just that.
Yes.
So we're going to measure things like what your interests are, what you want to do. Your abilities are how you want to do it, and your values are why you must. And all those things need to be lined up, and that creates a purpose. And then once you know your purpose, you need to know how were you designed to live that out successfully. And so then we measure things like your motivated role in a project. We measure things like your behavior, how you process. We actually measure how your brain processes unique to you.
Ooh, so you're just like a doctor, right?
It's just exciting. So,
it is. I can see that.
We love it because it sets people free.
So how can I be part of this? Because I think I know what I'm doing.
Well, what's interesting is we have the spectrum, because we work with it has implications all over the place. It has implications in relationships, which is really good. It's very helpful for people who are struggling with knowing what their purpose is. But I also work with a lot of high-level executives, because there's a book that was written called "What Got You Here Won't Get You There." And so people will eventually get to a place where the things that they've leveraged don't work anymore, because they've just been leveraging one part. And so one of the things we look at is...
That makes sense, yeah.
So what we see is it's not your strengths, it's not your weaknesses that hold you back. It's actually the overextensions or diminishments of your strengths. But it's across the whole person, not just one part of you. And so when you can see how all this fits together, you begin to see how you can actually be unlimited in who you're created to be.
You're actually opening my mind, because it makes me feel like I don't want to ask the next question that I'm going to ask, but I'm still going to ask it anyway. Knowing what I just told you about myself, that I felt like I know how to do exactly what you're trying to do to other people studying, all the assessment and evaluation. Let's say I already know 100%, I'm sure of everything. How would you convince me that yes, your program actually works? It's gonna work for me, because I'm the kind of person doesn't listen to anybody, doesn't go with anybody who tell me what is right and wrong. I don't listen around me. I totally some people told me that I'm in a box, but technically I am not in a box.
Exactly.
Yeah, they thought that I'm in a box because I am the kind of person that I don't listen. They said, you're in a box, you need to step out. No, I'm not, because I know for sure that the place that you want me to step out is not the place that I want to do. I want to step out in the back, not in the front that you're telling me. See what I'm saying?
So what I hear you asking is, you're pretty sure about who you are. You have a good sense of it. So how would I convince you or say that what we have to offer would actually be valid and reliable in your case?
Yes.
Yeah, and so what we would do is and there's a lot of ways we can do that, but generally I'll meet and go over what's called the proof of concept. It's kind of a cheesy way to say it, but we go over the process and we show the different parts, and so it allows you to actually see how the process works. And that's just kind of a complementary process we go through because it's really different. It's very unique because you're unique.
Oh,
and
thank
so,
you.
Yeah, and so it allows you, and then it gives you confidence to see all the parts.
I already have the confidence.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
We do.
But anyways, yeah, your it seems for me that your program really works well. I love it. I love what I hear. Although I felt like, I felt like I have everything. You know what I mean? But still, it's really very convincing. Even though people told me that I am in a box, I'm an open-minded person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always say this, Doug, that anything that is actually presented to me, I consider every single thing. I don't put away anything. I consider, and although I push away something, do you think that I push that away because I totally put my back, I turn my back on it? No, I don't. It's in the back of my mind. I said, okay, so how that works? That's how me. So a lot of times when somebody presents to me, I criticize it critically, ask questions, and then when they cannot answer my question, I said, all right. That's your opinion. But then in the back of my mind, I start asking things, and then I go back to them. I said, well, how is this? How is that? And that's the question that they can answer.
Yeah.
And then it becomes actually a work, a project. That's how me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And as an ENTJ, that would make sense that you would follow through and want to.
Oh, so that's the ENTJ, right? I don't,
But one of the things that we find that's really helpful is a lot of times people want to help. They go through the process because they want to help themselves get to another level. But what they really discover is not only does it help them discover themselves at a much deeper level and all the whys of why they do what they do and how they do it, but it also more so it actually helps them understand other people better and understanding.
I thought I can understand people. That's what I thought.
And that's where it has huge implications in relationships and in parenting, and because I don't want to raise my kids to be me, I want them to raise them to be them. And so how do I speak their language?
Yes.
What is their language? How do I understand that? How
You
can
have kids?
I do, yes. I have 2 daughters, yes.
Oh, how old are they?
They are 21 and 20.
Wow.
Yeah, they're out of the house. So.
They're out of the house.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, this is really interesting. I love the conversation. I hope we have the whole hour. I should actually put you in a whole hour, both you and Jessica, with separate hour, because this is amazing. This is something that people has to know, because a lot of people like how I think about myself, and I said there's 2% that I probably don't. See what I'm saying? A lot of this is come into people who doesn't understand, and people bad head banging to each other because they have different mentality or different way of thinking than the other, and both of these 2 persons, when they start head banging, they think they're right. Correct? Right? They think they're right, and eventually relationship clash because of that reason. And I think I am in that position where I think I am always right. I don't know if you notice that.
Right, and that's very common in that process. And so the unity is diversity with understanding. And so oftentimes it's not about who is right, it's about how both people are right and understanding. But a lot of times people aren't even talking the same language, because if I say something, I think you hear it one way, but if you have a certain personality, you actually hear it completely different than what I intended, and vice versa. But I don't even know that because I don't understand how design works.
Well, you know what? It's also okay. This is what I just realized. I just realized when you were saying something, and then the other party answered back different things, totally different of what you mean. I love to clarify things, and or I love to change change how I say it, because I just realized that here in this planet Earth, everybody doesn't speak the same language. So what I do is I change it, rephrasing it, right? Rephrase it, and then most of the time is the communication become really good, because you rephrase it, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. That's not what what I heard earlier." I said, "I'm so sorry. That's me talking a different language." So it's really, really important communication, and communication makes sure you clarify, you rephrase it.
So we teach what she described is what's called active listening, or you can
Yes.
actually, and so what we're able to do is, which is very common, when we work with companies, we'll actually go a step beyond that to what's called transformational listening. And instead of active listening listens to what people say and what they mean, transformational listening actually listens to who a person is. And when you can understand who a person is, then you can actually help them be them in the midst of your conversation, not just communicate what do we mean. And so when you get a team of people doing that, then it unleashes some amazing things
yeah.
in the world. So yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. I'm so excited now. So we're gonna come back on the next segment. We're gonna talk more about what you yourself. All right. So we're gonna be back on this last segment. Wow, this is going so fast. I like more. I think I'm gonna get a session. All right, we will be right back, viewers. Thank you for tuning